mom is now saying, I'm an alien. Anyways, this entire web starts with 3 people. Me, Maria, and Brian Dale. Brian Dale, married at the time. Maria, sleeping with him anyways. And then there's me.
Oh, and for people who have not seen the story yet, I'll leave a link in the pinned comments to the playlist with all of the parts in order. You got to check out this full story. I mean, this stuff should be on Netflix. So basically, this guy was 24. He met a woman that was in her 30s, and during a one-night stand, she said she wanted to have a kid. So he did what he did, assuming that he would just be a donor. Eventually, she reneges it and says, I do want you to be there. I don't have anybody else. I want you to be the father. He goes after the birth, signs legal documents that says he's the father. He becomes a father, gives her about $55,000 over the course of a couple of years, lets her stay in the Airbnb, and that was a couple of years. And then later on, he finds out that the kid isn't his. He has paternity tests, but he's been fighting in court because he's still paying child support, even though he has 2 paternity tests saying that he is 100% not the father of the child. So not only is she a hoe, but she a crazy hoe, which is insane. So you guys got to go check out the full story if you haven't seen it. I'll leave a link in the pinned comments and in the description to the full playlist in order. Let's get back to it.
Here's what people aren't understanding. Maria asked us both to get her pregnant. Sperm donors. Both of us. But she told me that I was the only one. And that wasn't true. Obviously. She got pregnant in June 2021. And during that window when she conceived, I wasn't even around.
Wow.
Brian seemed to be. So the question is, did he know the truth the entire time and keep quiet? Or did she lie to him too? And that's how this starts. One lie that turned into a full-blown web. Amanda's next, Maria's best friend for years. Her husband Julian was connected to Brian, Maria's actual baby daddy, right around the time she got pregnant. We know that at a minimum, Brian sold Julian, Amanda's husband, a boat. We think that they were friends, and we know that their connection overlapped the same time frame that Maria's hiding who got her pregnant. And we think they kept Maria's secret, maybe Brian's too. But it didn't stop at silence and secret keeping, because once we started speaking out, they really turned on us. Amanda began harassing Hadley online, Julian was threatening me directly, and it escalated to a point where we've now pressed criminal charges against both of them. Maria's former best friend is next. They were really close until she started dating Brian. And just like that, Maria flipped. Maria started messaging her ex-husband. She tried to help him take her kids away from her, all because she was dating the guy that Maria had been lying about for years. And while they're together, we believe that Brian told her the truth, that Maria had asked him to be a sperm donor. Here's another connection. I'm not sure if it means anything yet, but I'm going to mention it anyways. Maria's former best friend, she was last year's Mardi Gras queen, and Maria's boyfriend's ex, stay with me, is the current queen. This isn't just a title that they hand out to anyone. This is a prestigious title and it means a lot in our small town. And we heard that this year Maria had been trying to be the queen herself. Maybe some small town bullshit. Maybe it's something else. I don't know. I'm sure women would have a better perspective on this. Which brings us to this part of the web, Maria's boyfriend. Maria started dating Ryan around the same time I started dating Hadley. She told me that Hadley couldn't be around the kid, while some guy that I've never met was around the kid constantly.
Yeah, when you look at like DV statistics against kids, they skyrocket when there's a stepfather in the house, for boys and girls. So if for when stepfathers are involved, DV is far more likely. Not saying that it's going to happen, because it hardly ever happens, to be completely honest. But the chances are significantly higher when there's a stepfather in the house, for sure.
Troll freak shit, but that's just Maria. Michelle, Maria's cousin, is next. You've seen the videos, you've seen the lies that she spread. She didn't just defend Maria, she made it personal. She tried to get me and my girlfriend canceled, that's why she's here. Hadley's ex is next. Maria started commenting on photos of their kids, trying to get close to his family. Same pattern as her former best friend. It's fucking weird. And the former best friend is the one who completes this web. Because after all of this, but before I found out the truth from the DNA test, Maria's former best friend got pregnant by Brian Dale also. He had his first kid with his ex, he got Maria pregnant in 2021, and Maria's former best friend in 2023. Brian was also hanging out with Maria in 2022. So we know that he knows at a minimum that Maria had a baby 9 months after sleeping with him. So here we are. I think almost every piece is in place, but there's still some things that aren't adding up to me. If Maria cared enough about Brian to try and ruin her best friend's life because she dated him, and she went to him immediately after I got a DNA test, why even involve me in the first place? If she was just trying to extort me for money, how many people knew about it and said nothing?
Exactly.
I mean,
and you got to think about it. They in a group chat right now. This seems choreographed. They in a group chat right now talking about this, how they going to go on the post and sab. Well, I guess, you don't really need a conspiracy if interests align. Right, so they're all trying to get this Brian guy to avoid accountability because if he's held liable in the state that he's in, his wife can take 100% of his holdings in his business. So that's why they're trying to avoid accountability from him. So I guess if all of their interests align and they're all trying to protect him, you don't really need a formal conspiracy because it kind of all aligns.
Friends, but no one I'd be willing to send death threats to and risk jail time. And sorry to all my cousins out there, but I'm not going to publicly harass anyone over your lies either. Even Brian's ex, we felt bad for her because we thought that he cheated on her. And she's now in my comments calling me a clout chaser and a liar because she's claiming Julian and Brian have no relation to each other. I don't know about you guys, but this post looks like Julian and Brian have some relations to me. Just maybe, I don't know. So my question is, why are all these people so dead set on silencing me? And why are they protecting each other? Because it seems to me that they've all really done each other wrong here. And then Amanda just said this, that I was so close to the truth. Poor guy. What does that even mean? Small towns talk. 3 years of silence is telling. We're in real time now. Hadley and I have gotten it this far, but we still have those questions I just asked, and we can't figure them out. I'm going to take y'all over what happened in court next, and hopefully we have some mugshots.
Okay.
But I really think y'all can help me figure all this out.
Hey, Brett, give me a call. It's Norris. I'm not down for this made for Hollywood shit or whatever it is you got out there. I'm not that kind of lawyer. I don't do shit like that. I don't want to represent you anymore.
Well, what kind of lawyer are you? What kind of lawyer isn't looking for their big moment to have their big break in such a public case where the person that you're defending is obviously innocent because you literally have DNA evidence? I think this is weird. Like, this is a level of bias where a lawyer is literally leaving a case because a man is presenting his case to the public and getting millions of eyes on a case where he is obviously innocent in said case. This would be your moment to prove your value. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity if you're a lawyer to get a certain amount of exposure that you may never get an opportunity to get in your life. So the biggest loser, if he chooses to withdraw, which it says here, if he chooses to withdraw, he's the biggest loser. He played himself, really.
I'm filing to withdraw.
You all want to know, did I win in court? Does she have to pay me back? If you think that voicemail is bad, wait until you find out what happened in court. As you all know, I filed a fraud lawsuit on October 4th. I was asking for child support to end, to be taken off the birth certificate, and I wanted my money returned that I had paid her, plus attorney's fees and emotional damages. Right. Here's the thing you really need to keep in mind as you watch this. Mississippi has a law that you only have 1 year to do a DNA test, or you pay child support forever.
Wow.
I was on year 2. The only way out of it is to prove paternity fraud. And proving fraud is almost impossible. So I was looking at 19 more years of child support for a baby that wasn't even mine if I lost in court. On October 9th, Maria filed an emergency restraining order on behalf of her and the baby. She implied that the DNA test was false. Which, Maria, shame on you for doing that after what I just found out you did the day before. I'll tell y'all what we found out soon. Someone we thought was innocent is not. Anyways, now I have no lawyer, a gag order, and I have to remove all of my social media posts.
That's so crazy. It's so crazy how the man always gets the gag order and the woman is just allowed to go make up any story that she wants, even if he has tangible evidence. That's insane to me. So she could just go around the world slandering this man's name, making him seem like a deadbeat dad and all these other things. And he can't even combat it at all because he has a gag order? That's so biased, bro. This is it's unjust, right? Like we're taught that this justice system is supposed to be just, and this is just simply unjust. Like, take those scales and shove it, because there's no balance in this. This is obviously biased and one-sided. It doesn't even make any sense at this point. Family court is the only place you go where you are guilty as a man until proven innocent. You are guilty as a man as soon as you step into family court until you prove your innocence.
Researching lawyers who won't back down like my first lawyer did. I think many people online know about the Aubrey Wyatt story, and her mother Heather being silenced in the same way. What I don't think people know is that we live in the same town, so it's the same court system that has silenced both of us. Welcome to South Mississippi. I hired the same lawyer that Heather did. We prepped for the upcoming court date on October 29th, and we're prepared to fight for my right to speak back.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is not only are the extreme left sides, like states, they have very skewed family court laws and stuff like that, but also when you get into the deep southern, hyper-traditional, like Republican side, they also have super biased family court systems too. You'll see it on both sides of the spectrum. And that's why it's like, for me, it seems like the only bipartisan agreement is that we're going to take advantage of men. Even though we're going to promote this equality amongst women, we're still going to take men to court and take advantage of them. It seems like the only bipartisan where the left and the right both agrees that, hey, this is what we're teaming up to do. It's weird.
That day, Maria's lawyer spoke first. She asked the judge to close the courtroom to any outsiders and to issue a permanent gag order. My lawyer tried to refute this, but the judge didn't allow her to speak a single word. He just issued the order. Boom. Have a nice day. So now I'm banned from talking about what happened to me for the rest of my life. My one last hope was we had another court date coming up and maybe he would hear me out then. So I decided to just stay quiet and prepare for court. Welcome to the birth of the binder. In January, I was sent a shit ton of questions from Maria's lawyer. Apparently, it's a process called discovery. I'll tell you what I discovered. Those questions made their legal angle clear. They were trying to paint it like I chose to be the dad. Like Maria and I were in a relationship, and I knew the whole time that the kid wasn't mine. It was insane, and it took me days to answer these questions. On April 1st, I showed up to court prepared, but I was really terrified of the possibility of having to pay child support for another 19 years. I was on the stand for 6 hours, and Maria never spoke. Maria's attorney asked me to share one shred of proof that Maria knew she was deceiving me from the beginning. I laughed and I said, the DNA test and that she slept with someone else? This is a good example of how ridiculous this whole entire thing felt. Soon after, she showed me the acknowledgement of paternity form, and it had my signature.
This is why you have to be very careful about when you sign that paperwork, because regardless of what you think socially or what you can prove with DNA evidence, legally speaking, you are liable for that kid. And if the woman wants to draw it out, she can make your life hell with lawyer fees and just dragging you through the court. If she wants to drag it out, she can, and she has the power to do so. There are a lot of women who are running rampant and weaponizing the state to hold men hostage, and I think it's insane. Obviously, the guy he was a horn dog, blobbity bloop. We get it. Like, he was 24. He made a stupid decision. We get that part of it. He's already acknowledged that part of it, too. But, I mean, just the idea that there's a freak apocalypse out here, and these hoes are just allowed to run the world rampant with no accountability. And it's because they want the privileges of being able to be promiscuous, but none of the consequences and responsibilities that come with being promiscuous. And they use the state as their enforcement arm, which that's what the men uphold. They use the state as their enforcement arm against men. I don't understand. Okay, so he signed this paperwork, right? If you sign a divorce paper and you're under duress, they can void it in court. Why can't you void this in court? What's the difference? How is he not under duress if everything's going on during a pregnancy or during a birth? Because anybody who has kids knows how chaotic it can be. And you sign some paperwork, that's a very chaotic situation, right? So you would assume that he would be able to claim duress and they would throw it out. But nope, men are held to a different standard. The scales in justice are not fair towards men, especially when they're in a dispute against women.
No tampering with it. It was 100% my signature. I don't even remember signing that in the hospital.
Duress.
And let me tell you what I definitely don't remember agreeing to. This line in the tiniest little print I've ever seen, signing this form is like the mother and father being married at the time of birth. And it said on there, I only had 1 year to challenge this or I was responsible forever. I signed that. I did try to tell her attorney that I knew that form didn't matter if I could prove fraud, but the judge stopped me and said you could only say yes or no. I started to panic. Her lawyer gives her closing arguments, but also brings up a law on fraud in Mississippi. Apparently, one of the requirements to prove fraud is to know you're being frauded from the beginning. I thought to myself, if I knew I was being frauded from the beginning, I wouldn't be sitting here. I felt like my heart was going to beat out of my chest as we waited for the judge's decision. And then, he made it. I had proven paternity fraud.
Let's go!
I was off the birth certificate.
Let's go! Yeah! Finally, somebody used reason. Because legally, he probably would have been on the hook. But luckily, he had a judge that was willing to use reason. And that's why, bro, when I go on like TikTok, I'm doing like these TikTok debates now where I go into these live streams. And I thought that it was like just the people making TikToks, a small representation. But even in these live streams, like there are so many women that literally hate men. I am in the red pill space, in the red pill sphere. And people make the argument that manosphere and red pill guys, you know, and I'm in the red pill space because regardless of what I want to be, people are just going to consider me that because of my opinions, regardless. So I just, whatever, I lean into it. But even in this space where they say we quote unquote hate women and we practice misogyny, I've never ever in my life heard any man say that they hate women. When you go into these spaces, there are women that genuinely hate men. And imagine the fact that, like, some of these women, and you'll see it on TikTok, some of these women are therapists, flight attendants. They have jobs. They work in the workforce where they're going to be inherently biased towards men because they literally, like, they just have a genuine hate for them, and it just goes unchecked. They have a hate for men. Now, imagine if one of them gets on a jury or, like, one of them ends up being a judge and they have that same bias towards men. This could have went a different way. Luckily, his judge, though, had a balanced mind and was going like, hey, I mean, what are we going to do here? He literally proved it with paperwork. It would be unjust for this man to continue to pay child support under these circumstances. It's insane.
Certificate, and I didn't have to pay child support anymore.
Let me go back a little bit. I want to hear exactly what he said.
I had proven paternity fraud.
Okay.
I did the impossible. I was off the birth certificate, and I didn't have to pay child support anymore. I couldn't believe it. But then he had to decide on Maria having to pay me back. And the judge had a reference to law about knowing from the beginning. So there's no way I'm getting any money back under the current Mississippi law, even though I proved paternity fraud. So the end result, I'm happy I'm not paying child support for another 19 years. That's the win.
Yeah.
But the judge never lifted the gag order, and Maria will never have to pay me back a dime.
Wow.
I gave her over $50,000 for a child that wasn't mine, and she knew it the entire time. And I wasn't even allowed to clear my name. And what did Maria do when the judge said that? She was dancing. She was woo-hooing. She celebrated successfully scamming me.
Exactly. And this is why I said there will never be any accountability held towards these women. They're allowed to run rampant without any level of responsibility or consequence for their decision. And I had people in the previous videos talking about, well, if he proves paternity fraud, then she's going to have to pay him back. That's the law. It's illegal to commit paternity fraud. It can cost up to 2 years in prison. That could be the sentence. And I'm telling you right now, I know divorce lawyers. I know guys who work in the family court system. Paternity fraud, number one, is hard to prove. And number two, even if you do prove it, they hardly ever take it out on the woman or punish the woman because she's the primary caretaker of the child. And since they don't know who the father is now, they don't want to lock the mother up and separate the family and separate the mom and the daughter or the kids. So single moms ain't got no money. Let's keep it a buck, bro. Single moms ain't got no money. They're the poorest demographic in America by far. And it makes sense. They have to provide for a child and try to provide a life. It makes sense that they're not going to be able to do both of those two things. So because of that fact, they hardly ever have to pay any money back because the state knows that they're broke too. So that's the bigger issue. The bigger issue is that women are allowed, like during this, like this sexual revolution, all this promiscuity, feminism, pushing all this nonsense for equality everywhere else in the world, but not in the family court system. This is not just and it's not balanced and it's certainly not equal. And so these women are allowed to run rampant because they fought to be able to do so. But then when the consequences come, family court and the law protects them every time from their consequences and responsibilities.
That's the system we live in. You can commit paternity fraud and walk out of the courtroom celebrating.
Wow.
I might not be able to get my money back, but I'm going to make sure that no one else gets scammed like I was. Because of posting these videos, I was connected with Carnell Smith. He went through the same thing I went through, and he's making changes.
Let's
he's
go!
He's the law in 11 states. And I recently got a text that I was hoping for. I have a meeting next week with Mississippi policymakers, but it came with 2 conditions. It has to be at the Capitol in Jackson. Fine. And I have to bring Hadley with me. Apparently, they're big fans. Not gonna lie, proud boyfriend moment.
Okay.
I now have this opportunity to make sure that no other man is in the same position I was.
Yeah.
I have a lot of ideas on what I want to change, but the hardest part is going to be getting legislators to listen. And that's where you all come in. Lawmakers only care if you care. But before that meeting at the Capitol, I have one more person to hold accountable. There's a local paralegal whose silence, in my opinion, makes her just as guilty.
Oh, so he must have another part coming up. Guys, this guy's name is Brett Farley. You see it right here. People are asking me. You guys got to look at the screen. Brett Farley 0. Go check him out on TikTok. Go follow his story. Go comment. Go put pressure on these people because this is what needs to be done. Somebody has to do something about how unequal these family laws are. And I think the people who have gone through it are going to be the best people for the job. So for these guys to be finally teaming up to do something about this stuff, even if they have to reach to different states, this is a step in the right direction. Eventually, we're going to get to the point where the boomers are out of the window because they were a part of the sexual revolution and bringing in the feminist movement. They're causing all these issues. They don't want to do anything about it. They put their head in the sand and they just try to ignore these issues from existing. The inequality in our justice system. But the next generation's coming in, a generation that had to deal with the consequences. And then the next generation a little bit harsher. And then Gen Z is the most conservative generation. They're more conservative than men that are over 80 right now. So it's coming. It's coming, and it's good that men are getting together and starting to talk about these issues because there are a lot of guys that get raw dogged in family court, and this is only one way you could do it. This is really the most insane way and most extreme way that shouldn't even be a debate. This shouldn't even be a conversation. If I prove that I'm not the father with a DNA test, in what world is it just for me to still have to pay child support? Even the fact that they have to go in front of whoever to present an argument or present a case or whatever it may be. That's insane. It doesn't even make sense. And it shows the injustice. Let me know in the comments below if this video was a W or an L and give me the HBO special. That's help brother out special. Hit the like and the subscribe button for more content. Till next time.